to my personal LinkedIn page. LinkedIn does, what it should bring, you know what I mean? So you might not have to go through what did you figure out differently? Mic on the laptop without fucking it up. You know the mic that you want to add to the thing? I don't know how to add that correctly, so I don't want to. Yeah, I mean we're taking baby steps and getting ourselves around this whole thing. You know what I mean? look good. It looked good. I'm already working with 3 people on it. I have a follow-up appointment with the one young lady, the woman that works for the Fed, lived in the back of her MD sent me homework. Another guy from previous class sent me some homework to work on. And, and that was my prediction. Only 3 or 4 of you people are going to go forward with it. We'll see what's the name, cuts it up and sends it out. I mean, I'm getting a lot of inquiries, a lot of inbound traffic. We're trying to bottle this class a little bit, this workshop. You know what I mean? That's all I want to bottle it a little bit. Give it a little. But listen, let's see what the LinkedIn does, along with the Facebook and the YouTube. I'd be curious to see what the end result is like a couple days ago. I would definitely see if there's any different. I shared it to my wall. LinkedIn is completely different. In LinkedIn, I got 20,000 people directly connected to. I've been working on that for as long as I've been working on Facebook. You know what I mean? did some advertising on this, all the sites too. We got more time because we don't have as many events to focus on. You know what I mean? Right. Now we got 1 minute. All right. See you in the room. Good morning, everyone. This is Joe Scarice. Welcome to the Creative BRRRR Strategies podcast and house here on Clubhouse every first and third Sunday of the month, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, welcoming real estate investors, real estate professionals, real estate services, just diving into education and really showing the traditional rules how to build wealth. And whether you're a seasoned investor, a landlord scaling your portfolio, or someone just looking to buy their cash flowing property, we're here for you, providing education, networking, and strategy. I am now inviting a lot of people in right now, so we're going to get started here in just a few minutes. We'll get a couple people up and running here. A lot of things to talk about, especially our subject today. So we'll get into that in just a few minutes. Just inviting some people in. A lot of people on Clubhouse this morning. So let's get some people in here and we'll get people up in just a few minutes. Just trying to get all of these people invited here. And I got some moderators down below. So we'll just get some moderators up here. Invite. Let's see here. Invite. There we go. Make a moderator. There we go. Make a moderator. Oh, right. So, we're going to talk about how, investors are always finding deals, funding renovations, increasing cash flow, and recycling capital, even in challenging markets. So we're going to grab a little cup of coffee here for the next hour here on the Creative BRRRR Strategies podcast. And we're going to dive into and open your notebook. And let's get into another episode focused on building freedom through creative strategy, real estate strategies. This is what the Creative BRRRR Strategies podcast was all about and why we got started right now. So, today's discussion is structuring deals, DSCR, BRRRR, flip, ground up construction. I think it's a great diversified discussion just to get into real estate investor mindset. I put a lot of newsletters, a lot of articles out on LinkedIn, and I share those out through videos and et cetera. And I hopefully impact people that are listening in. I'm very proud to say, hey, I just put a video up this past couple of weeks on LinkedIn, and I was showing Yardell, our co-founder and co-host of the podcast. We had over 260,000 impressions on the video. I'm very proud of that. Very excited that people got to look at that video, and just brought warmth to my heart. So today's discussion, we're just trying to keep pushing it out there, saying hello to everybody, and just giving good insight and education on deal making. So what we're going to first do is I want to get a few words from Mr. Yardell Perkins, and then we'll go into the market Then we'll go into the discussion, and then we'll go to the moderators. Yordell, good morning and welcome. Yordell, are you there?
Can everyone hear me?
Yep, perfectly. Go ahead, Yordell. Yep, go right ahead. Yordell? We lost Yordell. We'll come back to Yordell. Let's just get into the discussion now, a little bit about what's going on in the market in the last couple of weeks since we were last on a call. One, we had a great white label course and workshop in Philadelphia a week ago. We had 15 students, a lot of underwriting discussions, a lot of homework assignments. A lot of people walked away with a different type of insight to lending, underwriting, maybe becoming a capital partner, just being a better referral partner. Our next class is coming up in South Jersey, June 20th in Haddonfield, New Jersey, sponsored by Quandel Iglesias of Spire Abstract. Just want to thank him for hosting the space. We're going to have some breakfast, lunch, and a lot of education in between. So high-level discussion this week. Most investors have accepted rates are not falling fast enough and bail out mediocre deals. Transaction volume is improving slightly, but underwriting is staying very conservative. DSCR rates are slow, repricing upward, while sellers are still anchored to 2021 and 22 values. Obviously, some big implications here. Cash flow matters again. Debt structure matters more than appreciation. Operators with reserves and liquidity are gaining leverage. Residential and multifamily investor trends. One of the biggest stories here is that rent growth is slowing, concessions are increasing, tenants negotiating harder, and occupancy becoming more competitive, especially in markets like Austin, Phoenix, Denver, Nashville, parts of Florida. Insider highlighted tenants are successfully negotiating lower rents due to oversupply and landlord competition. But the Northeast is behaving a little differently. Interesting divergence. The Northeast is now seeing a construction surge after years of underbuilding. New York, Boston, and Philadelphia are adding a lot of multifamily inventory rapidly. My takeaway is that the Sun Belt no longer automatically equals easy rent growth. Northeast value add may become more attractive long term, and the secondary Midwest markets remain relatively stable because they're never overbuilt. Rent versus buy economics still favor rentals, a huge driver supporting multifamily. Buying is still dramatically more expensive than renting in many metros. Higher mortgage rates, elevated home prices. Some of the investors that are increasingly targeting after workforce housing, Class B apartments, small multifamily, that 2 through 20 space, which we'll cover a little today. Co-living concepts are making a surge. Short-term rental and Airbnb trends right now. STR market is splitting into winners and losers. The buy any Airbnb and print money era is fully over. The ST market is now hyper-local, regulation sensitive, and operations heavy. Winning operators are focusing on unique experiences, event-driven markets, smaller supply-constrained vacation towns. Losing operators are struggling with oversaturated urban markets, rising cleaning and labor costs, weak occupancy, and tightening regulations. You're going to see some foreclosures from a lot of this STR activity coming online very soon. Regulation risk is becoming a major underwriting variable. I think, again, NYC remains the poster child. Everybody's moving out of New York. Airbnb is actively lobbying against strict short-term rentals in New York because current restrictions have a severely reduced inventory. At the same time, cities preparing for the 2026 World Cup are seeing rising STR demand, political backlash, affordability concerns, and increased scrutiny on hosts. Some investor takeaway: you may now have to underwrite political climate, permitting risk, enforcement likelihood, HOA restrictions as aggressively as occupancy assumptions. You're seeing this in Philadelphia, you're seeing this in Baltimore, you're seeing this in the New York State markets. A lot of concern with landlord activity and pushback back on the landlord from the tenant. Commercial real estate right now is still extremely volatile. Not a big fan of it. You're seeing a lot of pushback suddenly on the data center installs in a lot of these office buildings. You are seeing a lot of obsolete office conversion right now. Big institutional money is increasingly targeting conversions, office to residential, office to hotel, and mixed use repositioning. Another thing noticed this past week: insurance costs are quietly crushing deals. Florida, Gulf Coast, wildfire regions, hurricane exposed metros. This is now materially impacting DSCR, refinance viability, cap rates, investor appetite. Investor sentiment shift. There's some sophisticated investors are prioritizing some defensive characteristics. The current playbook is fixed rate debt, strong cash flow, low leverage, operational efficiency, recession resistant tenants. Less hype around appreciation only plays out. Luxury class A and speculative flips. More are focusing on affordable housing, workforce housing, build to rent, small bay industrial, medical office, and manufactured housing. What are some smart investors watching closely right now? Distressed multifamily refinances, office conversion projects, BTR communities, higher risk areas right now. I would be concerned about the Sun Belt area, highly leveraged syndications from 21 and 22. A lot of STRs in restrictive cities. You're going to see a lot of foreclosures from that. The overall market move I've seen over the last couple of weeks, how fast can I grow? And how resilient is the asset if rates stay elevated another 2 or 3 years? That's probably the single biggest psychological change in the investor market right now. Some takeaways right now in the past couple of weeks that I've seen: operational skill, patience, local market expertise, creative financing, and then some are being punished for weak underwriting, floating debt, appreciation speculation, and STR strategies right now. The easy money era is over, but experienced operators are quietly finding some of the best opportunities since 2010, 2012, because distressed sellers are finally emerging. And I'll give you a great example this past week. I'm having deeper discussions with my clients, and one of the clients is like, listen, how do I get into the fives on a rate on a 30-year fixed? And all we had to do was go 70% loan to value instead of 75% loan to value. He's got a slight buy down of a quarter point, and he's in the fives, 5.875 or 5.75 right now. So what I'm saying is structure is going to beat the rate. And he's looking at the long plan. This guy's locking 3 loans in anywhere between 5.75 to 5.875, just taking 5% less money and making a hell of a lot more in cash flow, and he's in the fives for the next 30 years. So whether we get to the fives organically rate-wise, he's going to be in the fives already. So these are things you need to think about as well. And a couple quick articles before we go into discussion. Distressed property auction buyers dominating local markets. The share sales are packed. If anybody goes to share sales in their market, they can tell you they're packed. Every one of them is 50 to 100 people vying for the deals that are on a share sale right now because there's so little quality inventory on the market right now. So that was one article that I posted this past week. We need to keep an eye on rates this past week. The 10-year bond went up, hit 4.6. Even though my rates commercially dropped an eighth, I'd really be keeping an eye on the rates right now because they're very volatile. I mean, like I said, I was able to lock some rates in the fives, but I don't know how long that's going to sustain where the 10-year treasury bond has hit an all-time high. So we'll see what happens this week. I might have to lock down all the loans I currently have in my pipeline just to save the rates on some of these things. So discussion today, structuring real estate deals, whether it's DSCR, BRRRR, flip, ground up construction. There's basic questions, basic answers. The stories are gone. The bullet points are back. All right. After repair value, what is your defined rehab cost with a 10% contingency, and what are you buying it at? What is the market rent on that individual unit? What is the market rent overall, gross, per month? Is there an appreciation base? Are we looking at affordable housing? Are we looking at market rent? Is it the same? What is the debt service? A lot of right now, long-term rental, we can go as low as 0.80 on 1 through 4 unit. 5+ unit, we need to see at least 1.0 on the DSCR. Obviously, if there's a value add to the rents, we could look at the future, but we have to always underwrite based on the present. Very, very important. Whether it's DSCR, BRRRR, or flip, all flips right now are being underwritten in case you're going to have to hold the property. So if the market rent doesn't cover your nut on the refinance, you're going to have major issues convincing an underwriter to allow you to flip the property unless you have a vast amount of experience. Vast amount of experience. It's very important. So what is experience in our space? The most important three questions is how many flips have you bought and sold in the last 3 years with ownership? How many BRRRRs have you completed and refinanced in the last 3 years with ownership? How many rentals have you acquired in the last 3 years with ownership? And the two additional questions, if it's ground up construction, how many ground up construction have you flipped and sold in the last 3 years with ownership? How many new construction have you built and rented and held in the last 3 years with ownership? Last but not least, another bonus question. If you're a licensed GC, how many new construction have you completed in the last 3 years with ownership with for an investor? So how many new construction have you completed as a licensed GC in the last 3 years for real estate investors, not owner occupied real estate investors? And it's all going to be about now the appraiser, when they go out and look at a property, they're not just looking if it's a good flip. They have to look at it if it's going to be a good hold if you don't flip, based on the timing of the market, interest constraints, consumer sentiment, and really 50 to 60% of the business right now in a lot of these urban settings right now are investors. The BRRRR strategy is real. It's all about the structure. It's not about the rate. If you're buying correctly, the BRRRR strategy works still. If you're not buying correctly, it's not going to work. You're going to be chasing your money. Again, ARV, renovation costs, and your purchase price based on LTV on ARV, LTC on purchase, LTC on construction. If you have 3 to 5 plus deals completed in the last 3 years, you're going to get up to 95% on purchase, 100% construction, 75% loan to value on ARV. If you have zero experience, that's fine. You're going to get between 80 and 90% on purchase, 100% on construction, and 70% loan to value on ARV. What are the biggest mistakes right now between BRRRR, flip, and DSCR right now? You're overestimating your values. You're underestimating your rehabs. That's the biggest problems right there alone. On ground up construction, getting the third party work down on the property, owning the property, getting the third party work. And what is third party work? Architectural designs, permits, zoning, construction budgets. You need to have these things in place because at the end of the day, structuring deals is about preliminary underwriting, pre-underwriting, and I offer these courses on that. So we have all the available checklist items that you need. You could always email me. We'll always send it out to you. But you need to go over it. You need to have a conversation with someone to better understand what underwriting is. Nobody gives a crap about the story. They care about the bullet points in the deal. I want to give some final thoughts, and then we'll hand it off to some of our moderators here, of course. Big picture takeaway. Successful investors are focusing on buying below value, structuring financing correctly, managing execution, controlling risk, maintaining multiple exit strategies. And the strategy matters, but the structure of the deal often determines profitability more than the property itself. Good morning, Dave. Welcome. Brief overview who you are, what you do, and thoughts to structuring deals, DSCR, BRRRR, flip, ground up construction.
Yeah, thanks, Joe. Good morning, everybody. It's been a little while. My apologies. Kids, sports, and some traveling. I'm getting off the grid real fast.
You didn't see that bag? You didn't see that bag at the office? There was a bag there with all kinds of money in it.
I must have got it first.
It must have. Yeah, it must. I appreciate that. And I'll tell you, the cigar event, we kind of did it on the whim the last time, but it looks like we're probably going to double the size of the attendance this next month, which is good because we're doing it every couple of months. Like we'll probably won't do it till the first or second week of October, take the summer off, and then we have our holiday party. So we have to start putting that together in the fall, the holiday party that we have up in the Lehigh Valley, which I've had now. This will be my third year. Dave's been part of it last year, and he'll be part of this year. But we're celebrating our third holiday party post-COVID. So, I'm really happy that, we're collaborating together on events now. Not every month, which is good. It keeps our sanity. But yeah, and the excitement is there. People are everybody's exchanging business and referrals to one another. That's half the deal. Dave, did you want to give some follow-up on that real quick?
No, absolutely. And I've previously some pretty strong relationships.
With the underwriting courses that I'm having once a month. I am taking off in July and August on the underwriting courses for white label. We'll bring it back in September. But we've been getting anywhere between 15 and 35 attendees to the workshop. We're now doing the podcast first and third Sunday. And then the second Saturday of the month, I have some guests that come up to my office and we do some one-on-one video podcasts. I've been just very blessed being on the road, meeting and greeting real estate investors anywhere between Massachusetts and Virginia, out to Pittsburgh, all the way up to like Buffalo. So I've been on the road every day, pretty much the last couple of weeks. I am happy to announce and very proud to announce I am a senior vice president of business development for Built Lending, which is a direct private lending source where we have our own balance sheet. We allow white label and referral partnerships for real estate agents, offices, as well as white labeling brokers. We're very focused on DSCR 1 to 4, 5 to 20 units on multifamily, fixed to rent, fixed to flip. We're 1 to 4, 5+ units. We really don't have a cap. We have a cap on loan amount up to 15 million. On the DSCR side, we go up to 5 million. Ground up construction, we're very strong in the 1 to 4. We definitely will look at 5 to 20 on the multifamily space. But that ties back to what Dave was talking about with some saturation issues. Record apartment supply hits an all-time market. The U.S. just absorbed the largest apartment construction wave since the 1980s, and hundreds of thousands of units that were during the low interest rate boom of 2021 and 23 are now delivering all at once. We have a lot of inventory, a lot of rentals hitting the market everywhere. Everywhere. Rising vacancy rates. I'm concerned about heavy concessions, 1 to 3 month free rent, slow release ups, and flatter declining rents. And I have to, I have to voice that because you're going to have a lot more renters, a lot more rentals as well. So the competition is going to be extremely heavy. Felix, good morning and welcome. Brief overview who you are, what you do, and thoughts to structuring deals, DSCR, BRRRR, flip, ground up construction.
Grand Rising. It's a pleasure.
Baltimore is going to stay very tough for quite a while. It's funny. I was just talking to somebody about the harbor and where it is now from 20 years ago. It's quite sad. I think they're going to have to reset, knock the whole thing out, and start all over again. And they're going to have to. What they have to. I mean, I mean, Baltimore. I mean, like, I don't understand the Baltimore investor why they're trying to get into Baltimore, where every lender. I mean, all lenders are cutting back either LTV, LTC in Baltimore. That's a fact. Some are not even lending in Baltimore. We're still lending in Baltimore, but I need to see who the operator is, what their background is, what their investment background is in the immediate market. How many accomplished deals have they done? I don't care about the story. I don't care about how good the deal is because I still know it's Baltimore. Okay. I mean, same thing, Memphis, another tough market, very tough. Okay. I think there's a lot of misreadings in these markets. I think the surrounding areas are doing quite well. I mean, like where you're now hosting that event where I set you up with in Laurel. I love that area. I mean, you couldn't buy enough good properties in that area.
Yeah, but just to be honest, like again, I lived in before the casino.
Yeah. That's where I think co-living works financially, especially in the non-QM space. Thank you, Felix. I think that one lease, one rental payment, but with the co-living, you got multiple tenants renting individual rooms. I'm going to give you a strategy to think about this. A traditional 4-bedroom rental, right? $3,000. If a co-living, 4 rooms, 1,100 a piece, it's 4,400. Now you need to sit down with your non-QM lender that I'm better understanding how that lease needs to look for the appraisal, but co-living is real, affordability is real, and some of these markets are going to be rightly ripe for that opportunity. And debt service might go up in some markets because of co-living opportunities. So I want to add that to what Felix was discussing because I'm trying to give you some depth to how to structure the deal for DSCR, BRRRR, flip, and or ground up construction because there's different ways to skin the cat now. There's different ways. There's co-living, there's STR, there's MTR. I'm closing on two-family houses in an area outside of Philadelphia called Roxborough, which is still Philadelphia County proper. The investor, she's taken it to midterm rental nurse students or nurses. She's going to make the current rent in each unit is $1,600. Her new rent is going to be somewhere between $2,500 to $2,750 per unit. She's going to triple her gross rent overnight. Now, does it change the value automatically? No, it's not in a market that's going to appreciate quickly because the income is better. It's just going to be an area where she's going to cash flow really well and really smart. Melissa, good morning and welcome. Brief overview who you are, what you do, and thoughts to structuring deals, DSCR, BRRRR, flip, ground up construction.
Good morning, Clubhouse. Good morning, Joe. I am Melissa King with Busy Bee Virtual Solutions. My staff and I support real estate investors on the operational and financial side. And for the last 17 years, I've had a front row seat to see how all these strategies have actually played out over time. Personally, I invest in my own self-directed IRA, and right now I've got a couple of loans out on fix and flips and a short-term business loan. What I've learned is this, and you've already heard it from several of the other moderators. Strategy isn't one size fits all. It comes down to the property, the numbers, and your ability to manage risk and execution. Every deal doesn't deserve a BRRRR. Every property isn't flip worthy, and not every investor is built for ground up. Find a lane. I've watched investors move through single family, multifamily, note buying, Airbnb rehabs, loan syndication, land contracts, flips, you name it. I've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly, Joe. And the numbers will always tell the truth. And Felix just hit on it. You didn't see me behind the scenes when you were talking, Felix, but it is about your documents, your digits, and you're going to make better decisions. You need to organize today to protect tomorrow. That's what I got.
Melissa, thank you. As always, Bookkeeping Rentals Landlord 2026. Successful real estate investing is becoming less about simply owning property, more about operating it like a business. Melissa is 100% on track. Financial tracking, operational efficiency, automation, tenants experience, cash flow management, compliance, bookkeeping, and landlording are no longer a back office task. They are the core profit centers.
Thank you.
I couldn't say it better than you, right? Look at that. Not bad. And listen, why does this matter more than ever? Especially with DSCR loans, portfolio lending. Does a blanket loan make more sense on a multiple properties than individual loans? A bookkeeper will be able to justify the reason why or why not, right? Private investing, with the self-directed IRAs, like Melissa was saying, partnerships. Does that make sense? Does it not make sense? BRRRR scaling. Good bookkeeping directly impacts loan approvals, refinancing ability, tax savings, business evaluation. These are definitely things you need to think about expenses, mortgage payments, taxes, insurance, repairs, and maintenance. Like me as a lender, I have to look at my expenses that I'm spending every week. Does it make sense to go to a bigger event, or does it make sense to go to 4 smaller events? I have found myself to do better at the smaller granular events between 25 and 100 people instead of going to an event where 500 people or 300 people. I see a more of a cost benefit. And I've proven it with my pipeline. So since I accepted this position in the last couple of weeks and kind of kept it quiet, I have currently over 100 loans in my pipeline by going to the smaller granular events. There are 100 plus loans in underwriting and processing between broker business, between referral partner business with real estate offices and real estate agents that have a referral program set up with us, and direct to investor. It works. And I ask them the same questions. Are you working with a bookkeeper? Do you have an attorney? Do you have an individual that set you up with an LLC structuring correctly? Do you have a decent CPA? Do you have how many insurance agents are you getting quotes from? And I make these referrals, and I reactivated my real estate licenses in New Jersey and Pennsylvania. Now I'm listing properties on behalf of real estate investors, tired landlords. I find it very important right now to be more involved with the industry because people are getting out or people getting worn out. Bob, good morning and welcome. Brief overview, who you are, what you do, and discussion on structuring deals, DSCR, BRRRR, flip, ground up construction. And I've known Bob now 16 plus years in the industry since I moved to the Philadelphia market. Welcome back, Bob.
Hey, Joe, thank you very much. My name is Bob Fesson.
And one, don't sue us. Two, we're not attorneys or CPAs, so we're not here to give you that type of advice. Go to a licensed professional in that space, not here on Clubhouse. But my thought here, an overview to what Bob is saying, holding single family to 4-unit investment properties in one LLC. General rule, there's no specific limit on how many single family homes, duplexes, triplexes, or 4 units investment properties can be owned by one LLC. An LLC may hold one property, several properties, or an entire real estate portfolio. The decision is usually based on liability protection, financing strategy, taxes, management simplicity, and insurance considerations. Some thoughts to hear. Again, I would sit down with your bookkeeper, sit down with your CPA, definitely sit down with your attorney, see what your exposure looks like. I'm constantly making recommendations to those individuals. Whether people take that advice, you can't make people do things. But if you're structuring deals and you're trying to scale, and we're going to have a discussion on scaling next podcast, and I'm very happy in June, I'm bringing an underwriter onto the podcast as well. That's the third Sunday in June. I'm bringing my underwriter in from the company Built. Very excited about having her come on. She's a plethora of just content and information. And this will help you think about whether you want to put everything into one. I'm not a fan of putting all your eggs in one basket. So like maybe every, 4 or 5 properties you put into a new LLC for scaling like that. From a bookkeeping perspective, it's just an extra line item for them. But at the end of the day, you're protecting a certain batch of assets at a time. It really depends on what your goal is. Is your goal to own 10 properties, 15 properties, 20 properties, 5 properties, 2 properties? It all really depends on what you're trying to do. What's your growth pattern? Linda, good morning and welcome. Brief overview, who you are, what you do, and thoughts to structuring deals, DSCR, BRRRR, flip, and ground-up construction. Linda?
Good morning. Yes, I'm here, Joseph.
Good morning.
Good morning, investors. My name is Linda Pliagas, and I'm the owner of Realty411.com. We're an information website helping real estate investors on their journey. And we also produce virtual and in-person events, publications, podcasts, and more, all to help investors with their real estate investing. Now, before we even structure a deal, we as investors need to know what type of transactions we can honestly handle and successfully complete. An investor needs to know how much financing they can qualify for even before starting to look for that next deal. What is your budget? How much down payment do you have right now? Many lenders will base their financing on you, your expertise, your closed deals, your down payment. An investor needs to know all this before even looking for a property, because there's no point in even scouting for real estate and deals that you don't even qualify for, folks. And I see this mistake a lot in investors, not just beginner investors, but also investors who have been doing it a long time, when they mistakenly think that they can buy a certain type of property that they just don't qualify for yet. Now, once you find a property that fits your criteria, investors need to know their exit strategy before even closing their transaction. Many times investors will purchase a deal with one type of financing, and then once the property is fixed up, they'll do the BRRRR method. They'll refinance it into another type of loan later. Find out if this will fit your criteria, if this is actually a type of financing that you can do on your transaction. Now, if you intend to keep the property long term, by all means, you need to refinance out of a short-term loan, high interest rate, into a long-term loan with a lower interest rate. Now, successful investors are those who know their buying and financing criteria ahead of time, who plan out their transactions, not only when it comes to actually fixing or rehabbing the property, but the financing structure itself, which is the foundation of the deal. And by knowing this in advance, it will help investors become more successful in their field. Back to you, Joseph. Thank you.
Thanks, Linda. Have you been getting all my newsletters that I've been sending over to you?
Yes, actually, I have. They look fantastic. And I do want to reach out to you this week so we can get your new ad up on our website.
Thank you, Linda. I appreciate that.
course.
And Linda brought up some very good points here. She brought up checklist items and questions to ask, right? As a real estate investor or a real estate professional, I provide this to you as part of being part of the Creative BRRRR Strategies house and podcast. I give you all the bullet point questions and answers that need to be addressed for DSCR, BRRRR, flip, and ground up construction. I provide also a construction budget with a template for a draw schedule, a needs list per type of scenario, an REO schedule on accomplished deals or completed deals based on the 3-year questions, the borrower certification authorization form for background check. Plus, I give you an additional insight on underwriting guidelines. So you can look up guidelines based on DSCR, BRRRR, flip, ground up construction. So you're not going to privately message me on here. You're going to email me. You're going to look at my profile. My personal email is on there. I could always put it on here in the subject area, but it breaks down all the most important questions that need to be asked. Stop giving the story and start giving bullet points back to your lender. You're going to have much more success in pre-underwriting a deal as well to see if it makes sense. A lender's looking at a very transactional lender is looking at anywhere between 20 and 40 loans a day, different scenarios. Don't you want to make it easy for them to be able to give you answers quickly? Stop coming up with the story, come with the bullet points. If I send you black and white questions, answer them back in red so I can read through it and know what you're talking about instead of you blabbering at the mouth with a word salad, right? And I'm getting lost in the discussion. Anybody would. It comes down to bullet points when it comes to all these different areas of lending in DSCR, BRRRR, flip, and ground up construction. Same questions over and over and over again. So if you're really interested in really diving in to be a better real estate professional in putting together the right checklist for yourself, for others, for clients, for yourself, for lenders, you need to send an email to me and I'll send them out to you right away. It's important. I want you to be smarter real estate professionals. You're taking the time to be on here and listen. So I want to give back. Stephen, good morning and welcome. Brief overview who you are, what you do, and thoughts to structuring deals, DSCR, BRRRR, flip, ground up construction. Steve going once. Stephen going twice. We'll come back to Steve, maybe stuck somewhere. He came, now Stephen disappeared. There he's back. Steve, are you there?
Yep.
There you are. What's going on, man? Good morning.
Steve Franco, thanks very much, Joe. Steve Franco, I'm a broker.
only try to give me the story all the time, but what do I always go back to? Yeah, don't be lazy, man. There's no shortcuts in success. I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just trying to make you a smarter investor. But I promise you, with this checklist and the questions to ask, you're just going to look that much smarter. It's basic information. What's the client name? If it's you, it's your name. What's the ownership or percentage? We need to talk about that because then I might have to get Bob involved. I need to know the credit score, not a kind of score. I need to know the credit score. Now, remember, if you're a true non-QM direct private lender, we're only conducting a soft pull on your credit. So you don't have to worry about a hard pull. Then we got to ask about liquidity and reserves. We got to know what checking, savings, 401k, stocks, retirement accounts, whether in your LLC or your personal name. What's the name of the entity? What's the subject address? What's the transaction type? Is it a purchase? Is it a refinance? Did you buy it and still need rehab? That's a delayed refinance. We could talk about that. Is it a single family? Is it a 2 through 4? Is it a multifamily? What's the investment strategy? Fixed to rent, fixed to flip, ground up construction? What's the purchase price? What's the original purchase date? What's the current loan balance? Repairs remaining, repairs completed, after repair value or current value, estimated rent, property taxes, annual insurance. Then the investor experience questions: number of fix and flips completed, number of rehabs to rentals projects completed, number of rentals properties purchased, turnkey, or value add, new construction projects flipped, new construction projects rental, renovations completed as a GC for investors, third party. It's the same questions per deal. The story doesn't change. The answers are specific. You need to get more specific in our space to conquer DSCR, BRRRR, flip, and ground up construction. We do. We do. We do.
So what?
Dived up here, man, about this because I want people to learn. And guess who the winner is today in the podcast here today? I want to shout out to Alicia, who just sent me an email right away looking for the checklist. I also connected with her on LinkedIn. Okay, so I'm definitely going to get her the information out. You know why? Because she wants to have resources to be a better real estate professional, a better real estate investor. It's important. These are basic. Listen, whether you come to me or you go to somebody else, I want you to walk away smarter and more precise in your quest in real estate investing and real estate development. I want to see if we can get some final thoughts from Yardell in regards to our podcast today. Yardell, are you there? Yep. Great loans is not for everybody, but you want to be better prepared. You want to understand the better questions to ask. You want to be more insightful, right? Because things happen. Even though we're not collecting tax returns and pay stubs and W-2s and 1099s, there's still things that need to be done to get the deal closed. And Yardell is obviously facilitating the white label piece to our concept. So if you need social media assistance in white labeling your capital group, Yardell can assist in that. You know, and Yardell and I have been hyper focused on bettering the workshops, consolidating our efforts, getting our podcast out there more. And Yardell, by the way, where are we now broadcasting today live, and then loading to Spotify, etc.? Let us know a little bit about what we're doing here.
Yeah, we now figured out one last piece of this puzzle. We're now going to be regularly streaming live to LinkedIn along with Facebook and YouTube. And after that, yeah, these recordings are going to be uploaded to YouTube and broadcasted to Buzzsprout, which links out to a bunch of our platforms on its own, one of which is Spotify, but it's also Apple Podcasts and Amazon.
Well, Yardell, thank you. You know, I met Yardell at one of my networking events over 10 years ago. We've been friends and colleagues and business associates pretty much ever since. It's been a great time working along. We're growing this out. We have our database that's really going well with Go High Level, our text messaging campaigning, our social media with Rolando, which we've had him on as a special guest in the past. We'll probably bring him back in July as well. Now I'm bringing in my underwriting and processing department to come and talk about how to underwrite and process loans in June. Is there a clubhouse group out there or a podcast out there bringing the underwriter in to have a discussion on how structuring a loan? No, we're doing it. Okay. We're going to be extremely transparent with everybody here and everybody listening into our podcast. So I want to thank Yardell again for really being the backbone to this entire podcast from the very beginning. We're over 2 years, over 150 episodes, over 20,000 downloads. We couldn't have done it without him. So thank you, Yardell.
Well, I want to say one last thing to everyone here, in the interest of transparency and pertaining to the social media part. And I said this to everyone at Joe's event a couple of weeks ago. Social media can be a force multiplier for you. It's a victory. I'm going to tell all of you, like I told them, I'm not here to try to tell anyone that you absolutely must use social media in any of your real estate or investing efforts. If you want to talk to me about that, it's going to be a conversation. We'll see if you need it. I've dealt with people who didn't need it. They were perfectly comfortable being like the old school salesman back in the day. They just hit the pavement, they hit the road, they go to events, they knock doors, they talk to people. Again, I built a website and a whole social media platform for someone that worked with Joe a while back. They loved my work. They didn't use any of it. And it's not that they said it was broken or anything. It's just they started going out to the events and they decide, hey, I'm more comfortable getting in front of people. So
Thank you, everybody. And on my final thoughts to structuring deals, DSCR, BRRRR, flip, ground up construction, every deal strategy solves a different problem. DSCR builds long-term cash flow and stability. BRRRR recycles capital and accelerates portfolio growth. Flips create active income through speed and execution. Ground up construction creates an equity at scale, but demands the highest level of planning, capital management, and risk control. The key isn't chasing every strategy. It's knowing when each one makes sense based on the market, financing environment, and your operational capacity. At the end of the day, Great deal structuring is about conservative underwriting, protecting downside risk, and maintaining liquidity and building systems that are repeatable. Real estate rewards discipline more than hype. What a great discussion today here on Clubhouse, on the podcast, the Creative BRRRR Strategies podcast, here every Sunday, first and third Sunday of the month, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, providing education, networking, and strategy. And my quote this morning, competition quits when the work gets hard. Be better by doing the simple thing that they won't keep trying. Competition quits when the work gets hard. Be better by doing the simple thing they won't keep trying. This is Joe Scarice, Nationwide Direct Private Lender, Senior Vice President of Business Development at Built Lending, licensed real estate agent, providing you education with some great moderators, great discussions, great insight. Thank you to the moderators today. For the people that emailed me, I sent you out the checklist already. Thank you again. Everybody have a blessed Sunday morning and a great week. And I'll be ending the room in the next 30 seconds.
Everybody have a great weekend.
Thanks.
Recording